Really grateful to be here. Thank you, Thomas, for setting all of this up. What a gift to be like a tribal leader and to do this from the other side of the state is pretty cool. And thanks for pouring into my 4 kids that I have in youth ministry. You spoke last night, and we have 3 of our own. And then we just last week brought home a 4th child, and we are fostering to adopt. So pretty cool. So I have 4 teenagers. I was in youth ministry for quite some time before I stepped into being a church planter. And if you're in youth ministry and you don't know Pastor Kendall Alfaro, he's our district youth director. And I would encourage you, even if you're not a part of the best fellowship in the world, the Assemblies of God, you still need to know Pastor Kendall because he can connect you and resource you. Thanks for coming. I feel like I see you now all the time. His family was on the front row on Sunday at Focus, and he was at my daughter's performances at National Fine Arts. So I'm very grateful for you. And man, I feel like having you in the room and Pastor Doug in the room is like swinging a golf club in front of Tiger Woods. Like you just want to get it over with quickly so that they can go. You know, it's like shooting a shot in front of LeBron James. Like you don't want anything to do with that. Like you pass the ball, you know. So I won't take up too much of your time. But my name is Mike, if we haven't had a chance to meet, and I started and scaled a church from scratch, and you're sitting in one of our 3 locations, and now I help others do the same. I help guys start and scale churches from scratch. We created Break200.com, which is like a Netflix for church growth, and I want you to see a picture of what my world was like 10 years ago. About 3 miles from here is where I used to live, and this was the entire church. It fit in my living room. And I was 24, 3 kids, and we just moved here. We literally had no ties whatsoever. I had never worked here before. I had no family here before. There wasn't some inheritance, you know, in some house that we inherited. We literally knew no one in the 27502, no one in the 919. It was from scratch. This was the whole church. There are more people in this room right now than there was in our entire church 10 years ago. And from there now, we've seen God do some incredible things. We're going multi-site on Sunday for the 2nd time. So this is our 2nd location. We're adding a 3rd location this weekend in Garner at the Regal White Oak Movie Theater. And just be in prayer for us as we continue to extend the kingdom. This picture's from our main location. I say main, our broadcast location on the east side. Our campus pastor from that location is here. His name is Pastor Michael. And then our campus pastor for this location is also here. His name is Lee, and they are great resources for you. Let me show you the struggle, because a lot of times you get to somewhere like this, you're like, oh, look how big it is. It must have been handed to him. No, this is your boy in the back of a landscaping trailer. Because we couldn't afford a trailer, I had to borrow a trailer from a guy who did landscaping just to move all the gear in and out on Sunday mornings. And we didn't strap it down. I just sat in the back and held the pipe and drape for dear life. So anytime you see what God is doing in our church, sometimes you need to go back and remind yourself. I have to remind myself that it wasn't always like this. And there was times where I was sitting in the back of the landscaping trailer. As a matter of fact, just 2 miles from here, there's a Panera Bread cafe, and I was bussing tables there. That's where I met TJ back in the day 10 years ago, and I used to work at that Panera Bread for $7.25 an hour, and 3 kids. I can distinctly remember asking the manager to not throw the bagels into the dumpster, but to set them outside of the dumpster so that I could take them home to my family. So just so you know, if you're going through it right now, there is more in store than what you're currently bargaining for, and I want to let you know that. So your boy used to work at Panera, so I'll never go to there ever again. Just a quick commercial. We are hosting our first ever Break 200 conference. So if you know of anyone, any senior pastor or lead pastor that's struggling to break the 200 barrier, we will be hosting our Break 200 conference in this room on October 3rd and 4th. It starts on Monday morning with a golf outing, because it's never really pastoral duty unless you play golf first. And so golf, and then we'll have the conference here. Then we'll watch Monday Night Football on this screen that night. And then Tuesday morning early, we'll have a pickleball tournament, and then we'll come in here for some more content. And then on Tuesday night, Ashton and I are hosting a dinner at our house. And so if you know anyone that's struggling to break the 200 barrier, or maybe your senior pastor could benefit from a local conference that doesn't require travel, it's just break200conference.com. It's $100 if one person comes, $200, and you can bring the entire team. So would love for you to join us. All right, let's talk about your job as a youth pastor, how hard it is and how challenging it is, and how sometimes there's a disconnect between you and your senior pastor. And I can speak to this because I've been a youth pastor and now I'm a senior pastor, so I have experience on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to the relationship you have with your senior leader. And if there was anything I could go back in time and adjust, it would be my relationship with my senior pastor. If there was anything that I felt like I did not work on or work towards, it was bettering my relationship between me and my senior pastor. And I'm sure some of you are in situations where the relationship is good. Some of you are in situations where the relationship is great. And then some of you might be in situations where the relationship is non-existent. It's not even bad. It just doesn't even exist. You do your thing. He does his thing. And you say hello on Tuesdays at staff meeting, and that's it. And I've been in all three of those kind of environments. I've had a great senior pastor. I've had a terrible senior pastor that told us we couldn't bring our baby to the church office because it would be a distraction. That he didn't want to see our kid, brand new baby, our first child, not allowed, no kids allowed. And then I've been in a place where I just didn't know the pastor at all, and we kind of did our own thing. And so I know that your job is hard because it's threefold. So if I were to describe to you your job is threefold. If you're taking notes, you can write this down. Number one, your job is to reach students, right? That's pretty self-explanatory. If you're here, you're in the student ministry game. It's not to maintain or to manage a ministry. It's to reach new students. Your job is to reach new students. And so that's part of your job. But that's not your only job. You would wake up every day with three jobs. Maybe you got 12 jobs because you do the worship too, and you lead the college ministry, and you also make the video announcements, and you're in charge of your church's TikTok or whatever else you do. But one of your jobs is to reach students. The second job, if you were working for me, what I would tell you is to resource parents. I think I missed that when I was a youth pastor, but now that I'm a parent, I have 4 teenagers living in my house. Your second job after discipling my students, my children, is to also resource me as a parent on how to raise them, because I spend way more time with them than you do. And so one of the things I wish youth pastors would get better at is the connection between the parent and the youth pastor. That you're not just some person that they kick their kid out of the car to Wednesday nights or Sunday nights or for camp once a year, but instead it's like an ongoing relationship. Here's how I would navigate internet activity at the home. Here's the kind of conversations I would have around the dinner table at the home. Here's how you can pray for your teenager. You would be surprised how many parents do not know how to raise their children. You probably know this because you get them for an hour and you're like, I couldn't spend all week with these kids. There's no way. And so you need to reach students, you need to resource parents, and then the third thing is you need to remain submitted to your senior leadership. And so if I wake up every day, I'm a youth pastor, I got to reach students, I got to resource parents, and I need to remain submitted to the vision of my senior leader. And it's hard to remain submitted in a toxic environment, in an old school environment, an environment where you feel undervalued, where you feel overlooked, where you probably are underpaid, guaranteed you are underpaid. It's hard to remain submitted. And so I got to reach students, I got to resource parents, and I got to remain submitted. That's my job description. If I'm a youth pastor in this room, I do those 3 things. I reach students, I resource parents, and I remain submitted to the leadership of my senior pastor, regardless of if I agree or not with him or her. I remain submitted. And remaining submitted is the hardest job of these 3. That's why you're constantly looking to go somewhere else. I struggled with remaining submitted. I thought I could do that job better. I could preach that sermon way better. If only I was in charge, I could do that. And it has such a lack of submission that it actually hurt me in the early days of becoming a lead pastor, because when I launched to plant the church, I had less of an understanding of what it meant to be a senior pastor because I never was submitted. I never asked the right questions. I didn't honor as much as I should have or I could have. And instead of remaining submitted, I went rogue and tried to start my own little kingdom within the kingdom. And that's just not wise. That's not wise. Am I in your kitchen yet, or are we okay? Okay, good. Awesome. So I want to give you the secret scoreboard of your senior pastor. And there are 10 things that your senior pastor wants you to do, but he's not telling you to do these things. I guarantee you, if you have a bad relationship with your senior pastor, he's not telling you to do these things. And even if you have a good senior pastor, sometimes it can get lost in the shuffle. So you have a threefold job description, right? Reach students, resource parents, remain submitted. And then here are 10 things that I would like for you to do. So I know what your job description is. Now I want you, this is how it fleshes out. Are you with me? Okay. I want you to disciple students deeply. Disciple students deeply. None of this event planning game. You're not in the event planning business. You're not in the I'm a professional pizza orderer business. You know, you are a disciple maker. And it's more evident to me how important discipleship is now that I have 4 teenagers than ever before. If your senior pastor doesn't have teenagers, you're off the hook currently because your primary customer doesn't show up on Wednesday night back at his house to tell the senior pastor how it went. But if your senior pastor has teenagers, you have the hardest job on the church staff. So you need to disciple them deeply. I'm not interested in the game. I think games are fine. I'm not interested in the vintage t-shirt that you're wearing, which I think that's fine too. It's all great. I think those things are all cool. I'm cool with the white sneakers and the rolled up jeans. I'm cool with the dad hats. That's all of that. I'm down with it. That's not why you're here. I don't hire you for fashion. I don't hire you for TikTok. I don't hire you for Instagram. I don't hire you for views, shares, subscribers, or comments. I hire you to disciple students deeply. And I'm talking about looking at a student in the eye that says they don't know what gender they are or what they're struggling with, and you can biblically walk them through the reason that God created them, the way he designed them, and his best for them. It takes hard work, good people skills, right? Like it can get easier and easier to try to lead a movement from this thing. But discipleship, deep discipleship, doesn't happen through this thing. It's a resource, it's a tool, and I'm not against the internet. I'm all about it. But what I've discovered is your primary job is to look at a student across the table and say, God's got great plans for you. You do not need to be sleeping with her. God's got great plans for you. You do not need to wear that immodest outfit or whatever it is. You know, it's discipling students deeply. So that's number 1 of 10. Number 2 is you need to communicate with parents clearly. Man, if I don't know when to drop my kid off, if you sent a text message to the student as to when to show up but didn't contact the parent, it's not going to help you. The gatekeeper of your ministry's growth is the parents. They're the ones driving the kids to youth group. They're the ones letting the kids either go or not go. So once the trust level with the parents is high, your youth ministry can take off. When the trust with you from a parent level is low, your youth ministry will always be small. You are actually in the parent ministry business before you are in the student ministry business, because the parents hold the keys to the permission that they give to their students. So if you're not crafting like a weekly parent update, or if you're not actively recruiting youth leaders that stay outside in the parking lot to say hello to all the parents, to reconnect the trust, like if it's like a ghost town when they drop their kid off and they're not sure what's happening inside there, parents just don't trust like they used to. When Pastor Doug and I were coming up, dude, it didn't matter, dude. Put the kids in the basement, rusty nails all over it doesn't matter. Like all sorts of gluten everywhere. It just did not matter. Like there was no intolerances, there was no allergies. The liability was at an all-time low. Now the liability is at an all-time high. And so your game is no longer with students. Your game is with parents. So if I'm not getting a text message from you, if I'm not getting an update on what my kid is going to learn, what my kid is going through, or how to pray with them or resource them, then you're not doing, I'm speaking to you as if you worked for me. You don't, but you're not doing your job. This is what I would tell you if I was your senior pastor. You need to communicate with parents clearly. Okay, The next thing is you need to protect culture ruthlessly. And when I mean protect culture, I mean you have to create this environment where everyone just loves to be there. And you can't let it slip through the cracks. When you get lazy, things start to really get sloppy and it's ugly. So you got to say, no, we're not going to let that trash can be full. We're going to take the trash out before youth group. No, we're going to really craft a good pre-service playlist because we're creating an atmosphere here for students' lives to be changed. And you got to like constantly, it's like, culture is like a bucket with a bunch of holes in the bottom. You got to protect it. It's like every time you pull it out of the water, it just leaks all the way out. So you got to fill it back up all the time. So it's your job to really identify. And I would also say for the main church's culture, like if the pastor wants this, you got to protect that. Like this is what pastor wants. And if that's what he wants, that's what we're going to remain submitted by protecting culture ruthlessly. And I would also say it can be easy to let the world's culture creep in. And I don't want to sound like an old fart up here, but it's like, dude, you don't have to look like the world in every aspect of the ministry in order to attract students. They're hungry for more. And so you got to protect culture. The next one is this. You need to honor your leaders genuinely. I'm talking about honor up, honor down, and honor all the way around. You shouldn't show up late with a coffee in your hand. Let me explain this to you. If you're going to a staff meeting that you didn't call for and you show up late with a coffee in your hand, it's just disrespectful. All right, it's like that's the worst thing you could do at Focus Church. If you worked for me, you wouldn't last very long if you just, hey everybody, how's it going? Sorry, I'm 20 minutes late. I was stopped at Jubala or wherever you go, Fount or whatever the hipster place of the week is. You need to honor your leaders. You honor them with your time. You honor them with your attention. You sit up close. You lean in. You say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I mean, when you shake someone's hand, you look at them in the eye, firm handshake. You don't dap up the old man because you're the youth pastor. You're cool. It's like he doesn't understand that, you know. Know the room that you're in. Like, know the setting that you're in. Like, I wear this because I know the room I'm in, but when I go to a board meeting, I'm not wearing this, right? I know what room I'm in. I know who I'm talking to. When you go to a birthday party or someone's quinceañera or whatever it is that you get invited to as a youth pastor, know the room that you're in. And it's honor is one of the things that if you get it, it comes back to you. It's a boomerang. It's like if you throw it out, it comes right back to you. If you don't honor, it will not come to you. You'd be like, why don't they like me around here? Why don't I ever get asked to do the offering or the announcements? It's because you badmouth your pastor every chance when he's not around. You know, it's like you show up late all the time. Like, if I can't trust you with what you know to do, how can I give you anything more of what you don't know how to do? So you need to honor them genuinely. And creating a culture of honor can happen from the second chair, which is what you're in. You know, you're not the leader. So you just, Pastor, is there anything I could do? I get text message from Pastor Michael all the time. He does a great job. What are you thinking about? What can I do to help you this week? On Saturdays, almost every Saturday, what's on your mind that I can help you with? Those are the kind of questions that if you were to ask your senior pastor once a week or so, he'd be like, man, he's thinking about the big picture, not just the silo or the department that he's a part of. Honor says, I'm not just here to win in the youth ministry, but those fifth graders, you know, snot-nosed elementary kids on Sundays, those are my future students. So I'm going to honor the kids ministry. I'm going to go in there on Sunday mornings and ask the kids person who I don't like that much, hey, is there anything I could do to help? Yeah, well, the soundboard, we can't figure it out. You know, we can't play our little YouTube worship videos. You know how to do all that. And that's a practical way that you just show honor. Because here's what will happen. The next time that a parent comes with multiple kids and one is in 6th grade and one is in 4th grade, the kids pastor will say, man, our youth pastor is so great. Our youth pastor is so good. You know, little Johnny will come here, but Sally in 6th grade goes to, you know, Viper or whatever you call your youth ministry. I don't know, whatever name you come up with this week. I know some of you are new, like, we're changing the name, whatever it is. All right, next one is you need to treat your work seriously. You need to treat your work seriously. I know it's fun. I know youth ministry is so much fun. When it comes to preaching, when it comes to discipleship, serious game, man. Don't be Googling your sermon notes 2 hours before. Always have a word. Always be ready. Treat your work seriously. Your work, you need to not take yourself seriously, but you need to treat your work seriously. What I've discovered is the less I take myself seriously and the more I take my work seriously, the more influence I gain. The more normal I am, the more myself I am, the more influence I gain, but then the more deep I go into my work. Like, this is not a canned talk. I've never given this talk before. I sat down in Tampa this week and I wrote down, these are the 10 things I'd like for this group to hear. Why? Because I take my work seriously. When Thomas and Brayton invited me to do this, I take it seriously. Why? Because I truly and genuinely believe that you are in charge of the most formative years. Like, you are making or breaking my kid's future or not. Your influence over my kid determines whether or not in college they choose to go one way or the other. It's serious business what you're in. It's formative. Kids ministry and youth ministry are formative years. And if you don't take your work seriously, you'll have a ton of students in high school go to college and just fall off. That's the serious work that you're in. So treat your work seriously. Make a Google Doc. Write some stuff down. Surprised how many times people just don't plan. It's like, well, I don't know. We'll just get there and wing it. Whatever the Spirit says. No, man. Treat your work seriously. Show your pastor. Show your work. Hey, pastor, we're doing an event this fall, back to school bash. Here's a Google Doc. It's a master plan. This is everything from the bounce houses to the pre-service music to the food and to the atmosphere of the event. And when he sees that, he'll be like, man, this guy takes his work seriously. That's what I want to see. All right, next one is this. You need to communicate change quickly. If the building's on fire, tell me now. Don't tell me afterwards. Don't let me hear it from my kids that some fight happened. Like, if something changes, let me know, right? Let me know fast, because you don't want me to hear it from an angry parent, right? If Johnny and Sarah were making out under the stairwell and someone caught them and something's about to go down and you're nervous to tell me, I'd rather you tell me quickly than wait for the right time to tell me when you feel right. Does this make sense? Like, I know you're not in the senior pastor role, but it really helps me when you tell me everything you know as soon as you know it in the spirit that you heard it. Like, I need to know everything that went on. Don't hide drama from me. If there's I don't know what you're up against. I can imagine that there's probably a lot of internet activity that you're privy to that parents should probably know about. You're like, I saw them post this on their chat, on their Snapchat. It's like, let me know quickly. If you know if you know trauma happened or abuse happened, you need to have a protocol where it's like, if this is a level 8 and above, you tell the senior leadership quickly. Because if I have to find out from another person, I'll be like, you mean to tell me you knew the whole time? You mean to tell me that the person I pay to inform me on level 8 to 10 matters knew and they didn't tell me because they were embarrassed or they were nervous? Listen, it's better. I think Mark Twain said, if you got to eat a frog, eat it first thing in the morning. Because everything else after that will look like a piece of cake, like a walk in the park, So if you got to eat a frog, eat it first thing in the morning. So if you got to have a conversation, you're like, Pastor, I really screwed up. I dropped Mountain Dew on the new soundboard. It's like, just tell the truth, man. Come clean. Hey, we had the fog machine. We thought it wasn't going to do the fire alarm, but the whole fire department showed up last night, we thought the game was going to be safe. We didn't think anybody was going to get a concussion, but your kid got a concussion, Whatever it is, tell me quickly. Get it out. Because then, guess what? Believe it or not, I've lived longer than you. Believe it or not, I know how to communicate to leaders a little bit better than you. Not because I'm better, but because I've been doing it longer. If you have a parent conversation about something traumatic or, we heard that this happened at school, or, man, get your senior pastor in on 8 to 10. Don't let him know that, the cables weren't taped down or whatever. It's like, there's like levels to this thing, right? But if you have to think, should I tell my senior pastor? You should. And if you have to think, when should I tell him? Now. There's only one time where I would say do not talk to your senior pastor about an 8 to 10 problem. That is Saturday night to Sunday morning, okay? Don't bring it to him Sunday morning, But right after he's done, it's preaching to adults and to students, I'm sure you feel this, is like bench pressing. And the weight comes down during the week, and it gets to its heaviest point of most vulnerability on Saturday night and Sunday morning right before you preach it. And then once you preach it, you've maxed out, and you can re-rack the weight, and then you feel like you can rest. So don't bring me the problem when I got weight on my chest, right? You can wait until I've released the press, racked it back up, and then you could tell me. Am I helping anybody today? Okay, good. Okay, next thing is this. Use money wisely. All right, I get it. You're looking at Elevation Rhythm, and you're looking at Rhythm Nights, and you're looking at freaking Transformation Nation, and they got like literally every dollar they're leasing new equipment every week. You're like, dude, the lasers and the fog and the freaking dude comes from the roof rappelling in. They got the stage moving around the students like Kanye West. I mean, they got the budget of a mass production. I'm asking you to do me one favor as a senior leader. Just use money wisely. Just use it wisely. I would even say this. What's more important, I know I have to hurry, but what was more important during my days as a youth pastor was using my personal money wisely. It's like, go to Dave Ramsey. If you haven't taken Dave Ramsey, do it. If you're married and struggling financially, which you probably are because you're a youth pastor, you need to take Dave Ramsey and don't take out consumer debt. Don't finance the car. Don't get the Guitar Center credit card because you want a new amp or whatever it is that you want. Don't do it, man. And if you've done it, get out of it. Force yourself to get out of it. And I can tell you right now, my number one regret when I was 24 years old here is I didn't know how to use personal money wisely. My phone got shut off. Senior pastor of a church planter, my cell phone got shut off due to non-payment. I'm out there hustling at Panera Bread, doing everything I can. No one can contact me unless I'm on Wi-Fi. So I'm setting up FaceTime meetings instead of cell calls, just so that I can, 3 weeks, right? That's how, I wish I was better at investing for retirement at your age. I wish I was better at saving at your age. Now that I got big boy job and big boy paycheck, I can do that. But if I would have known, I wouldn't have financed the 2 cars that we financed, and I probably would have put some savings away, and I would have said no to a lot of other things. Those vintage t-shirts are so expensive. So stupid. Okay. Next thing. I don't have a thing. I've been looking for them, but I go to Goodwill to find them. Thrift Row on Instagram. Thrift Row, the guy from Seattle, he goes and picks them, and I look for them. Okay. You need to improve Sundays immensely. Help me out on Sunday mornings, man. If it sucks, don't just sit there. I don't think youth service and Sunday service should compete. I think they should complete. So if the lights aren't working on Sunday mornings, help your senior pastor and fix the lights. If the sound sucks and you know a guy that can help, bring him in during the week to tweak it and to get it right. If the flow of the service seems clunky, just toss out an idea to your senior pastor in writing via email. Don't just in the hall, hey, we should do an announcement video. He's not going to process that. But if you show him an example of what a good service flow might be, hey, pastor, maybe we can stop letting people do testimony time for 30 minutes on Sunday mornings. Whatever it is, hey, maybe we don't need to sing happy birthday at the beginning of your sermon to anyone who has a birthday. Maybe we shouldn't ask all the first-time guests to stand up and point at them. Whatever it is, help them. They don't know. They only know what they know. So, Brayton is blessed because he works for a 34-year-old kid, right? I'm 34. I'm still a kid, so I'm not stuck in my ways for service flow and tweaking, but I need all the help I can get to improve Sundays. Your secondary job, your +1 job is to improve Sundays immensely. All right, next thing is develop leaders strategically. Develop leaders strategically. So I know you have a bunch of jobs now because I've given you 10 things, But once you have youth leaders, it's not just for the Wednesday service. Like these people need to be developed. They need to be discipled. So develop them strategic. Have a once a month meeting. Have a student leadership team. Have a adult leadership team. Don't do it by yourself. All right. And then the last one is this, and we'll open it up for questions, is you need to live a life of integrity. Save the best for last. If you are not living a life where if what you're doing in your whole life, if any area of your life, you'd be embarrassed if it was on the news tomorrow, then you're not living a life of full integrity. So that's what you have to have. You have to what is integrity? Integrity is living a life where if the news audited every area of my life, there wouldn't be a story tomorrow. That's integrity. Where they would watch you wake up and they'd look at your thought life and say, he's in the Word. Where they'd watch you go to the gym and you exercise and you didn't take a double take when someone walked by. Where they watched you scroll when your spouse wasn't home and they saw all your internet activity and it wouldn't be a story. If you live a life of integrity, God will bless it. You'll get paid more than you deserve. You'll get asked to speak at places that you never thought you'd speak at. Integrity is the gate by which you step into greater. There's nothing else. It's not your followers. It's not your... Listen, integrity is everything. If you live a life of integrity, God will bless it every time. Every time. If you live a life of integrity, God will bless it every single time. I'm tired of the Instagram culture, and then they get sniped by the enemy because of integrity. It's integrity that actually keeps you out of the game. So what area in your life, if I were to audit it right now, would possibly make the news tomorrow? You need to sever that. You need to confess it to a brother. You need to confess it to somebody. And if they genuinely love you, they'll walk you out of it. If they don't love you, you're telling the wrong person. But the reason that this room exists isn't so that you hear content. This is all YouTube, right? You just watch VU Friends and Family YouTube channel. It's everything. It's like this you get all the time. But what you really need is someone to say, dude, for me, it's like my travel schedule right now is so dumb. I get on a plane every Monday. I'm home every Thursday. I just adopted a fourth kid and I'm not even home. So like, if the news were to audit my life, they probably wouldn't have much, but they would say, the man's never home. The man is constantly gone. So last night we had this conversation, Pastor Michael and I. I said, I have to say no in 2023 to being on the road overnight. Less than what I'm doing right now. When I tell you that for the next 10 weeks, I'm on an airplane on Monday and home on Thursday, it's about like that. Like we were in Tampa earlier this week. I'll be in Ohio next week. Houston, Texas the week after that. Africa for 10 days. All of this while trying to launch a third location. All of this while going into the fall. And so my integrity is found in my rhythm and my rest, right? So that's where I'm at right now. Confession time. I don't know where you're at, but you need to audit your life. And if there's anything that the news would say, youth pastor in Selma, North Carolina, accused of scrolling on the internet at 1 a.m. when his wife wasn't around. That needs to be severed. Integrity is everything. Okay, you have my phone number. I don't know if anybody texted me any questions. If you didn't, that's okay because I went really long. But you can ask any other questions you might have. It's 919-912-6499. If not, I'm just going to pray for you. You don't have to ask questions. Someone asked, what's the acceptable amount that you can ask your lead pastor to hang out? And do they even want to hang out with us? It's great. Here's what I know. He probably likes to eat. So like grabbing a meal is probably the first step. He probably doesn't want to be bothered Saturday night. Like probably doesn't want to come to some sporting event that takes five hours. Like I don't really hang with these guys. I see these guys on their day off and they're all going to the lake together. I don't care for that. Like I don't. I play golf. So if you like to golf and you want to play golf with your pastor, great. He might not want to play golf with you if you suck. Like we got guys on the staff who I won't play golf with unless I know that it's just like fun time, you know? I just take it too seriously to play with these trash players. I'm just being real honest with you. I'm not going to play unless you can play. Cam, is it not true? It's true. Cam's like, can I come to that golf tournament for Convoy of Hope? I'm like, nope. I'm bringing players, okay? I know this is not mentoring time. I think that there's got to be things that they do. Like Pastor Michael and I spent a ton of time at the gym when you first came on staff as the youth pastor. I mean, it was every day in the gym because that was something where we could. I think an activity is better than like a one-on-one like sit down. So like let's go grab lunch or let's go do something. You got to get to know them. How do you get more money in your budget? And what will actually get us more money in our budget? Growing Sunday morning, connecting with parents, having parents come up to the lead pastor and say, man, we're so grateful to be here. The youth ministry is so awesome. Brayton did this video this past weekend where he had parents do like a review, like we love Focus Youth because, and we played it on Sunday morning. There's no better customer. There's no better story than the parent of another teenager. So, I mean, if you get the parent, you get a raise. That's how you get more money in your budget. Great questions. Yeah, what do you do when you want to reach parents that don't want to be reached? You at least need to get them, you at least need to make sure that they got it accessible to them. They decide how much they want to reply or not. But what you don't want is for them to be like, man, when was that thing? Where was that going to be at? How much was camp again? Like this is the kind of stuff that I used to have to ask all the time. It's like, what time did they have to show up? And who all's going to be there? And is there youth leaders coming? Or is it just the youth pastor? Like they went to the beach a couple weeks ago and I was like, who all's going to that? I don't really like beach bathing suits. I just don't, I'm old school like that. I was like, what's going on there? How long are you going to be there? And who's riding with who? These are the questions that parents of teenagers, I guess concerned parents, Christian parents are asking, you know? So like here's what I'll say, is like you're probably reaching to the level of your communication with the parents. So if you're getting kids whose parents don't care, it's because you're not communicating with parents who do care. So if you want to reach better families, right? Like, can I talk business for a second? Like if you want to reach families that come on Sundays, reach parents who care about their kids' future. So do both. You know, obviously there's outreach opportunities and there's bus ministries and there's those kids who really need the youth ministry. But then there's the parent communication part. And so just make sure they have a very easy place. If you're new at a church, what are the first three things that you would do as a youth pastor? I guess let me start with what not to do. I wouldn't go in and change everything overnight. I would call a parent meeting, like a family night. We just did one of these. A family night where you literally have a printout calendar, not an Instagram QR code where you had to log in on TikTok to find out what the events are for the year. It's like, here's a piece of paper. We don't use these, but you do. Put it on your fridge. Here are the main anchor events for the year. For us, it's like camp, convention, fine arts, spring retreat, or whatever it is. Here are the anchor events. These are the dates that if you were to pick a cruise, we don't want you going on a cruise during these 5 times a year so that we can give them. And then in between these anchor events, these are the big Wednesday nights that we want you to bring your friends to. And then here's all the contact information. You can get me directly. None of this like, hey, just Instagram message me, slide into my DMs, single mom. It's like, that's weird, dude. Just, here's my wife's email. Here's my wife's phone number. It's like, and like reiterate that. Here's how you sign up for text message updates. Scan the QR code for text message updates. A lot of that. Okay. Great question. I would call a family meeting. I would probably really create a leadership team. And to be number two is I'd be like, who are the leaders? And then number three is I wouldn't look to the past. I would look to there's retention sales. Like if you're about to cancel your cable, they send you to the retention department. Like, don't cancel your cable. We'll make it free for you for 3 more months, Don't try to get students who used to come back. You're in new sales. So like students who have never been to church. And the same is true when you become a lead pastor. Oh man, where are they at after COVID? They're gone, dude. Don't play retention salesman. Don't try to offer 3 months of free cable. Like that's not your job. It's like those people, if they cared about you, they would have stayed. And so it's new customers, new business. We call it the third church. When we merged Focus Church that started in Apex with a legacy denominational church at East, there was people who didn't know of the history of either church that came after the merger. That was we called the third church. I'm interested in the third church. So like I love you if you started the church with us, and I love you if you've been here since Jesus walked the earth. If your kid was dedicated here in the 80s. Either way, you are not my primary customer. My primary customer is the third church, the person who walks in here on Sunday and didn't even know there was a merger. They didn't even know this was a church plant. They didn't know that you started this when you were 24. Third church is your job when it comes to evangelism on Sunday mornings. Okay, let me pray for you. And let me see here. What are the best resources, in your opinion, to get better at communicating? I think reps are important. Like if you just do it. Like how do I become a better preacher? Preach more. Not preaching less. It's preaching more. My pastor doesn't let me. Well, you better go to Podunk, country boy friend of yours that has 12 students in metal chairs and just get up there and rip it. Like, cut your teeth on a $50 gas card honorarium. All right? You ain't going to get better by going to VU conference, It's just not going to make you better, You go out to Selma, all right? You get out there to the 6th. Where's your church at? Smithfield. You get out to Smithfield. You get out to Temple Pentecostal Church of God, whatever it is. You get out there. And them good old boys in cowboy boots will tell you whether you did good or not, Like, you just got to get reps, dude. Like, what made me better? Just reps. And I would say this. The one thing that helped me, that changed me immensely, Story Brand by Donald Miller. You're really good at story, too. Doug Withrop has a book. It's called what's it called? Get his book. It's about communication. And here's what I'll tell you. If you can tell stories, you can preach sermons. If you can't tell stories, then you can teach. Teachers don't tell stories. Preachers tell stories. And once you learn the balance, we just got out of 8 weeks in the book of Romans in expository. It was the worst for me. It was for 8 weeks, I've been banging my head against the wall. Thank God for John Lindell, who's from James River, who preaches expository only, because I just type in YouTube, John Lindell, Romans 1. John Lindell, Romans 2. John Lindell, Romans 3, and it's all there. He doesn't have any humor. He's not funny. He's got one of the largest churches in our movement. Not funny at all. But boy, when you sit under that teaching, it's rich. It's meaty. It's a steak. But now we're going into At the Movies, and I'm in my happy place, dude. I'm so loving it, dude. This past Sunday, the staff was like, we could tell that you wanted out of Romans so bad. I just get up there, I look at the camera Romans chapter 8, I am justified by faith in Christ Jesus. You are predestined, you are called. He foreknew you. Let's go home, But what it did for me is it exercised both muscles. It's there's one chapter, I don't recommend all of Andy Stanley's theology. I think he's a little woke in my opinion, but there's one book, one chapter. It's called, I think it's, the chapter is called Double Barrel Preaching, and I think the book is called Grace, the Grace of God. I think, I'll have to look it up, but there's one chapter, it's called Double Barrel Preaching. And he talks about how preaching is both deep for the Christian and evangelism for the lost person. Double barrel. It's two barrels. It's two approaches. I got to reach lost people, but I got to give meat to I got the DYD, Kendall Alfaro, who sat under John Lindell's, he was from James River. And so he's like, I've heard that before. I'm like, yeah, you have. 4 years ago when they went through the book of Romans. So, hey, let me pray for you. Father, I love my friends here at the table. I know that there are so many things in their minds and in their hearts that they're wrestling with. I just pray freedom from that. I pray a special grace on their life. I just pray an abundant blessing. I pray like they would just be blessed because of their integrity, blessed because of their submission, blessed because they take their work seriously. And I thank you for everything, Lord. I just pray special blessing over every youth pastor and their children. Protect their homes, protect their marriages, Lord. Protect their relationships with their lead pastor. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.